The world is on fire. The podcast with David Cortez.
It's probably just my computer.
That last one was perfect. So if you did not hear it perfectly, it is your computer. I swear.
Yeah, I guess so.
That was
'Cause
perfect.
all I heard was like snippets of sound, but I did not hear any soul. So that's why I was like, huh.
No, that last one was pretty good. I tried my best there. Tried my best to
Yeah.
reach him out. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess once the episode gets published, I'll see what I can actually pull out. Hopefully it came out perfectly because I mean I tried. It came out pretty no, really, it came out
Yeah, dude, that's why I was like,
pretty.
am I hearing what he's putting out there? I don't
No,
know.
initially it wasn't doing it perfectly, but after I did the initial couple of tries, the third one, last one was perfect.
Yeah, it kind of all sounded the same to me. Just a
Really?
little faster
That's terrible.
towards the end.
That's terrible. God damn. Okay, well, that's that. Well, hopefully the audio sounds nice once I publish the episode. It's a really it's a really good song, and I've been practicing. I've been practicing. So hopefully it comes
I'm
out.
sure it was good, dude. I'm sure it was
Oh, it was
good.
good. It was good. I promise to the audience, if it doesn't sound well in the playback when y'all play it, all your computers are broken. No. I played it perfectly. No, it's probably either the mic. It could be either the mic. It could be the way it's going towards the mic because of the
Mhm.
pop, or it could just be that sound's not translating well through like so many different screens and inputs and everything. Or maybe it's just your laptop. Maybe your laptop's terrible.
That could be.
Who knows what it is, to be honest. But hopefully it came out through in the playback for the episode. Anyways, there's a reason why I started with the song, and it's because of today's episode. Today's episode, I still haven't decided on a title, but I'm going between Baby Why or Babe Why question mark parentheses, right,
Mhm.
slash or dash affair, right, or between that one and between what's the other one, you darn dirty cheater.
You're what was the last part?
You darn dirty cheater.
Cheater.
Yeah, darn dirty cheater. I'm going between those couple of names, that or I don't know, what do you think would be a good name for an episode like this?
And it's about affairs.
Yes, yes it is. And cheating, I mean technically affairs are cheating, but it just depends because there's so many different factors, right?
Mm.
Because it could be like an emotional affair, or it could be like a physical affair, which is more like cheating. Emotional affair is still cheating. I mean, it depends on who you ask. It's really like a matter of it's really subjective when you think about it. But what do you think would be a good name for the episode?
What was your first choice?
Baby wine
Baby,
or
baby why?
babe wine or why babe?
Scratch that. Yeah. No.
No.
No. What was the second part?
Second part was you darn dirty cheater.
I like that.
Me too. Me too. I thought about you damn dirty cheater, but you darn dirty cheater still sounds good.
All right. You said dang?
Darn or dang.
Uh, yeah. You dang dirty cheater.
Yeah, you dang dirty
Like,
cheater. That's
I
that's
like that. I like that more.
so you
Thank
dang
you.
dirty cheater. The Better Man Project Part 3. You dang dirty cheater.
All right.
That's like a good rhythm to it. It really does.
Yeah. That's like one of my favorite things kind of to say when I play my games. I'm like, you dirty dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sneaky.
Okay. Then we can go with that one then. So you dang dirty cheater. So the name of the episode is that today. You dang dirty cheater. And it relates to the Better Man Project. which for some reason is really picking up steam. It's actually the number one watched episode in the entire podcast.
That's really good.
That's
That's a,
shocking.
that's an important topic.
It is, but I mean, like, it's the number one episode. It's been played like 100 times already or something, or no, 100 and something, 126 times in just like a couple of it was played like that in a couple of days. But it's so
Mhm.
interesting that episode's the one that's taking off like crazy. The Better Man Project. I mean, reclaiming honor. That one specifically. So here we are, part 3. So
Yeah.
with this episode in mind, the topic is affairs, right? Hot subject with so many hot takes, right? I'm wondering, at first glance, what's your impression of that title, or what's your impression of the topic?
Shoot. I spit on it just because I really don't like cheating, man.
Huh?
I said I don't like cheating. The act of cheating, it's a bit like devious.
It is, but it leads to betrayal trauma. That's what it leads to.
Yeah,
So there are
terrible.
there are different kinds of trauma within the umbrella of trauma, right? So there are so many different kinds of trauma. It's insane. Like specific like scenarios, instances, events that lead to trauma. But there is a complex trauma, which is a little bit interesting. Complex trauma has different parts. One of the parts that we're kind of focusing on today is betrayal trauma. Betrayal trauma is exactly what it sounds like: the traumatic experience of being betrayed and the damage that it leads to afterwards. Did you know? My brother would always say that. That's what he would always say. That I would always say, "Did you know?" Back in the day, he said
Enlighten you.
that I acted like Jimmy Neutron because I was always trying to like teach everybody something. But did you know that when people have been cheated on, it leads to symptoms similar to that of PTSD?
Huh?
That is so crazy. A lot of the research showed that people experience similar symptoms, including, let's say, nightmares, right?
Hmm.
Nightmares are their partners cheating again. There's
Huh.
that. They experience that. They experience hypervigilance. So consistently being on the lookout to not be cheated on again. That's crazy. That, and then even I mean, flashbacks to a certain degree. I mean, or depending on the situation, how they found out in the first place. Let's say they found text messages or something like that. Then they'll be triggered whenever they see their partners with the phone texting, right? And if they see them laughing and texting or laughing on the phone, that's even worse. That's even worse.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, because I mean, I studied this subject in depth immensely because I was very curious. So just like John Gottman was curious about what made a relationship last, he was also curious about what made it fail and what made it to where people engaged in affairs. All these different things, stuff that I was curious about too. I always like to see the duality of things. So like, what makes things go one way, what makes things go the other way. So you can't know the positive or the good without knowing the negative as well, right? Negative and the bad. With cheating, it's one of those subjects, right? It's touchy, but it's important to cover. Betrayal trauma, again, it leads to people experiencing symptoms of PTSD. They could even experience moments of rage. So, for people who don't know, there are multiple symptoms for PTSD. A lot, maybe like 16 total, something like that. One of the symptoms is bouts of rage or difficult controlling anger, right?
The rate, not really.
Yeah. So it's complicated, but people can
The
experience.
person that's been cheated on?
Yes,
Really?
yes, yes. I mean, not completely full blown, like, I mean, like rage, like what's it called? Think of it like this. Some people who have PTSD because of military trauma, because they were in the military, they saw a lot of different things. When they are exposed to triggers, and let's say they're triggered by somebody or something, they might get into a bout of rage and they might lose control. But this is like in the worst cases of PTSD, right? I
Okay.
always say that to say, I always say things, worst cases, I always give that disclaimer because I always feel as if people who do podcasts try to like use black and white statements, and I don't like that. I hate black
Yeah,
and
like it was a little emphasized. I thought I was like, huh?
exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. I like to clarify things. I don't like to give black and white blanket statements. It's a terrible thing to do, in my opinion. I could name a couple of different podcasters who do this, but it's okay, I won't. Right. And so people that have been cheated on can experience bouts of anger, especially if they get triggered, especially their partners are doing something that resembles what the cheating looks like. So what's a good example? Was a very good example is the partner being gone. This is a very good example. The partner being gone for long periods of time. So I mean, them saying something like, "Honey, I'm going to be at work a bit longer today," right? And they're not really at work. They're out with somebody else, or they're doing something else, and they don't check in, right? And work is, I mean, ideally from 8 to 5 or so, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody, I know it depends on your schedule though, because if you work night shift or you work evening shift, things vary. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, that this couple works from 8 to 5, and then the husband is gone from 8 to 5, but then is late a couple of weeks. He's late, gets home like around 7 o'clock, and then the wife finds out that he's cheating on her. Well, then down the line, whenever the husband is working late hours again, because at some point, he'll probably have to. He doesn't get to just say no. But let's say he's working late hours, then that might trigger the wife or the girlfriend or partner, right? Because this could trigger the person into thinking they are cheating on me again. They are. The immediate thought that goes through the person's mind is they start to visualize cheating happening again. And they're thinking about what's going on, how they're meeting up with a person, how they're cheating on them, what they're probably doing. All this starts to ruminate inside of a person's mind, starts to stew, right? And then let's say, for argument's sake, that the partner was not cheating, and he's not that trifling, at least not after the first incident. But he comes back home like at 8 p.m. when his shift was supposed to be over at 5 o'clock. What do you think happens once he walks through that door?
There's definitely gonna be some tension and confrontation, probably.
Yes, exactly. Moments of rage or anger,
Yeah.
right? So the person was suffering so much because they were feeling so anxious, so worried, thinking about the worst possible case scenario, catastrophizing, so much that they were thinking about. I mean, again, they were reimagining or re-experiencing, in a way, like flashbacks, but more like their own thoughts, intrusive thoughts taking over. And they were thinking these things that were happening inside of their mind, not in real life. But then it leads to them focusing on this, ruminating on this, and then when the partner gets home, they get furious, right? Why didn't you let me know you were going to stay late? Why didn't you text me? Why didn't you check in? Why didn't you do these things? And then the husband's going to be like, well, I was at work. I couldn't text you or call you. I was at work. I was working. I can't do two things at the same time. And then the most likely outcome is going to be the wife saying, "You know what happened last time when you weren't checking in. You know how you did everything, and how you were gone for long periods of time. You were not present. You were staying late, and that's how the cheating happened the first time." So then it is a trigger at that point, right? Staying late at work is a trigger now for the wife in that case. Vice versa, though, I'm not gonna say it's just this men who cheat. By the way, there's also women who cheat. Women do the exact same thing. You could argue the numbers, but what's it called? With this example, the wife is experiencing the wife is experiencing a triggering event, and it's similar to trauma and PTSD. So this falls under complex trauma. Betrayal trauma is under complex trauma, under that umbrella, which is different than PTSD. PTSD is like over here. Think of them like sisters or cousins to a certain degree.
Okay.
PTSD, complex trauma, and the complex trauma has the babies. You have betrayal trauma, right? Think of it like that. It's one category, but then the specific kind of trauma. So this is what it looks like to experience trauma symptoms or trauma from cheating, from an affair, right? So yeah, that's a very good example of what it looks like. But then here's the good part. Let's go to the good part. Let's go into the positive direction just a little bit right now. I feel like I threw too much at the audience, and I'm not sure if I'm triggering some people right now. I probably am triggering some people in the audience right now because they can all probably relate to this, and they might get triggered by more of the conversation. So, I mean, if you don't want to hear it, get out of the podcast, man. Get out of the podcast.
No, no,
It's
no,
called the
stick it
world.
out.
It's called the word is on fire, not now I'm gonna hold your hand, right? Just for the podcast. I was taking off the reed from the mouthpiece. So everybody who plays saxophone knows that if you don't take off the reed, it can get warped. You don't want that to happen, right? That's bad because then you can't play it as well. But going back to the positive thing, the reason why I started off the session, sorry, the the podcast with
Oh,
a podcast with a saxophone was because of this reason. So people need safeguards. People need safeguards. Cheating is something that can happen too easily in a lot of cases, especially when there's already conflict within relationships. One of the things that I tell people when they've experienced this issue or when they're afraid that it might happen is to use music.
huh?
Yeah, music. You're like, what?
Huh?
What does it mean? Well, so I've worked in a lot of different places throughout the country. In one of the places that I worked at, they talked about what's called music assisted CBT. So CBT for the audience is cognitive behavioral therapy. Also, I'm not claiming that I just do CBT. I do CBT, DBT, and a bunch of other stuff. I say that because a lot of people have a negative association with CBT, so I gotta throw that out there as well.
Oh.
And I'm not what's it called? I'm not into the framework of CBT that's gaslighting. The audience who has experience with CBT will know what I'm talking about. The rest of everybody else, they won't. But it's okay. But back to the music. So in this facility where I worked at, we used music to alleviate different things, including depression, including anxiety, including stress, anger, addiction, all these different things. Music. Yes, music. Believe it or not, music. So, Gina, what's your favorite song of all time?
Uh, I couldn't say.
Okay. Whenever people give me that answer, I say it's time to reflect.
Why?
Well, because in theory, I mean, mm,
I have a favorite genre to listen to,
yeah,
but
yeah,
not
I
a
get that a
song
lot. I get that a
specifically.
lot. Genres or what's it called? Categories or Spotify or something. But the reason why it's important to identify music that's very helpful or that you like a lot is because it gives you the ability to create a strong emotional connection and charge to that song or to be able to remember. You probably do have a song that you like a lot. You just cannot remember because you haven't.
I don't know. I'm always listening to music.
Well, then maybe let's make it easier. What's one song that you heard as a kid that whenever you hear it, you feel super happy?
I guess I'll say Night at the Roxbury, that background song to that movie. I don't
Which
know what
song
it's
was it
called.
again?
I don't know what it's called.
Was it Baby Don't Hurt Me?
Probably, yeah.
Baby Don't Hurt Me Tonight. What is
Well,
love?
it's the movie that it's associated with because it sounds like a club song.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun.
dun, dun, dun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's What is Love, right? What is Love?
I don't know.
No, no, no. This is good. This is actually a very good song choice because on the topic of today, right? So, Baby Don't Hurt Me Tonight. What is love? Let me see if I can. Yeah, it's a good song. Let me see.
Anyways, Night at the Roxbury, it's a great movie too.
It is. Let me see if I can.
Super funny.
Let me see. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm gonna find it real quickly. It's gonna be What is Love? Yeah, it's What is Love? And man, where are the lyrics for this thing? That's a great pick, Gina. Thank you. That's a great pick. Ah man, I cannot find the lyrics. Anyway,
I remember listening to that. We were driving in the car, it was at night, and that song's playing. I was like, dang, this song is so good. And then that movie came out, and I was like, holy smokes, like that makes it even better.
but with this song, you like it. You like it a lot, right? You do?
Yeah, I
And
guess so.
and you remember hearing it
Yeah.
for the first time? What sorry,
Yeah.
you said you were driving?
No, I was a little kid.
You were a little kid. No, I mean that's what I mean. You were in the car and they were driving
Yeah.
and they were playing it. So you heard it before you saw the movie.
Yeah.
You heard it in the car
Mhm.
and you were with your family.
I guess so.
Yeah, yeah. So this song got cemented in your mind with that imagery.
I guess so. It's
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
like nighttime. That's what I associated with because it was nighttime. I'm looking out the window. I'm looking at buildings, the city buildings.
So good. That's good. So that's good. So that's one of your core songs when you think about it, or one of your core songs and memories. This is
Yep.
good. So I try to go over this with clients that I work with. You have to find a specific song that is tied to your core. That when you hear it, it triggers something. It is like when you play "I the Tiger,"
Uh-huh.
da-na-na, da-na-na, and everybody remembers Rocky the movies. If you're above 28, you think about Rocky and the movies, right? So
Uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. For the most part, yeah, about 28. But here's the thing. So when everybody hears that song, "I the Tiger," they start to get what exactly? What happens to them?
Motivated,
Yeah, there you
like
go. They get
hyped.
motivated, hyped. If they're at the gym working out, they're able to like bench press 350 pounds. If or just being sarcastic there. But when you hear "What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more," right? You think about you're transported back to that moment in time when you were a kid. How old were you, by the way?
I don't know.
8,
Um,
7?
Probably. Yeah, probably around there.
Uh-huh. And you're in the car watching the city, watching the buildings,
Huh?
right? So when you're able to identify specific songs, you're able to, I mean, one, unveil your true connection to the song, which is super amazing, and able to really bring it close to you and hold it close. I'll elaborate with this. When when a couple picks a couple song, it does something for the relationship. There is something that now the couple is now associated with. So now the couple is associated with this song, and now that they're associated with this song, whenever they hear the song, they're thinking, "Okay, this is my couple song." In fact, it is so significant that at some point it becomes the wedding song for the couple. If they last long enough, it becomes the wedding song, right? It's that important. And then from that point and forever, for infinity, whenever they hear the song, they're gonna think about their wife, their husband, their relationship, their love, all these different things. Very beautiful stuff, right? So that's an example of how a song can play a role in a person's life. Now,
It reminds me of the movie Click.
like, no, okay, good point. Forever and ever, babies. What is it? We said forever and ever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. So that's a good point. So that was a cemented experience, the napkin situation. It was a napkin in the movie Click. But for a lot of couples, it's a song that they have in common. Sometimes it's a movie. So, case in point, P.S. I Love You, The Notebook. You have Titanic. You have A Walk to Remember, right? You have all these different ones.
Is that the one with the sick girl?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one, A Walk to Remember. So, so for some couples, it is a movie. However, for a lot of people, for most people, I think it's a song. So I started off with the saxophone with that song specifically, right? So, "Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone," right? So that one, because it's a very popular song that was popularized by Bill Withers a long time ago, along with "Lean on Me." 2 amazing songs, by the way. Amazing songs on the piano and the saxophone. Anyways, so if you have a couple of song, if you have a couple of song that you listen to and that becomes your own in your relationship to you, and if it becomes that close to you, this song will save you. It has the power to save you. Hear me out. Hear me out. That's my one free technique of the day. But it has the power to save you. So in the darkest moments, when temptation hits, when the thought of cheating comes through your mind, goes through your mind, when the opportunity comes up, if you are feeling as if you're losing that battle and falling into temptation, to my audience, play your couple song. Play your couple song. The reason why it's going to be helpful is because of this reason. When you think about CBT, it is thought influence emotions, which influence behaviors. That's the basic model, like the most basic way to explain it. Music is a way to positively trigger yourself into a specific way of thinking, or to remember something that you experienced when you had this song previously. Everybody has song ties. Let's call them that, song ties, throughout their life. These song ties are there. They're not always been known to the listener, to the person who has these song ties, because there has not been enough work done with reflection in this category, because nobody really thinks about these things. They don't, which is why they had to invent a whole theory for this and a bunch of different materials to be able to show people how to use music in that manner. But I want to help out the audience a little bit, because it's a podcast, so I want to do this for the audience. But if you have a couple song, right, and you are about to get tempted by somebody, let's say with a coworker, or let's say with a friend, or let's say with somebody at the gym, or let's say somebody in general, right? If you feel as if you're losing this battle, play your couple song, because it's going to do something. It's going to short circuit your mind. That's what it's going to do. It's going to short circuit your brain with a lot of cognitive dissonance, which is basically trying to combat one way of thinking or understanding with another one. So on one hand, you have this opportunity to engage in an affair, and it seems super tempting. It does. It seems super tempting to engage in this affair because the opportunity is right there. But then on this side, you have love. You have love, right? You have your relationship. You have the years, months, whatever it is of being together, all these different things. You have 2 opposing forces at this point. But if you play the couple song, then it triggers this additional level of awareness, this thinking. It can trigger guilt, right? As a way to not go in the wrong direction. It can trigger love. It can trigger love. So thinking, I love my partner so much, I'm going to pass on this opportunity right here. It's okay. Or I would feel so terrible if I were to go in this direction and hurt my partner like that. So I will not do it. Right. So then you see what I mean? It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do it.
I teach this to people when they're recovering from affairs. So I don't want to say that I specialize in affair and person cheating, but I mean, I do work a lot in that specific area.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's because it's similar to addiction. So I do specialize in addiction. And within addiction, you have codependency, which, by the way, has like 4 different definitions. And one of them is wanting to go towards something outside of yourself to make you feel better. So there's that. So then I started to like dabble in that, and a while back I specialized in it. But then somehow, I don't know how it happened, but I started having a lot of clients who went through these issues. But it's not just men; it's women as well, right? Women cheating, men cheating, all these different situations. And I mean, I just kept doing it, and now I don't know. I guess I do specialize in it, I suppose, right? And with this technique, it's very helpful at being able to fight off temptation.
Yeah.
This
We'll have
one,
less affairs, less cheating.
exactly, less affairs, less cheating, right? So this technique, being able to play your couple song, will save you. in your darkest moments. It'll prevent you from going in the direction that you do not want to go. So, to the audience, please use it. Use it.
Yeah.
There's a part of the self that's going to say, I don't want to use it. Or there's just going to be this hesitation for some people. But you have to be able to either press that button on whatever you have on your computer, phone, whatever you have. MP3, if anybody still has that. iPod. So, I don't know, but some people still do. But you got to be able to play the song, right? You have to have the willingness to do it as a way to trigger the positive emotions, as a way to trigger love, all these different things. More importantly, it's actually very important to be able to trigger your super ego, which is your conscience. Your conscience is sometimes diminished for a lot of different reasons. There's so many reasons. I can't list them all, but it's diminished for a lot of people sometimes. But it is the moral parts of the brain or the being in psychology. Some people have no conscience. They can do horrible things and not feel too bad about it. This doesn't make somebody a sociopath, by the way. It just makes it to where they struggle with a specific issue for one reason or another. This is another reason why I talked about the code a while back. Do you remember when I said the code protects you? Right? Well, in the code, there's duty and loyalty. If you hang on to the code so much and make it to where it's very strong, very sacred in your life, then how likely are you to betray somebody if you're adhering to duty and loyalty? You're not. You're not going to betray them most likely because that an honor, by the way, these things will protect you. But in case there's no code that has been developed yet by the person, in case they're still trying to figure out what that means to them, this technique is very helpful. It is. It is.
What's it called again?
What, the technique?
Bushido?
Oh, yeah, Bushido.
Bushido.
The 7 virtues of Bushido. So it's good stuff. Good stuff to know. But let's talk about something that's pretty interesting. So I went into the technique, some psychology, all this stuff. But let's talk about why cheating even happens in the first place. so,
Rose.
so I mean, here's the thing though. It's a complex issue. It's not a one size fits all type situation. So I'll point out a bunch of the most common, right? Most common prevalent issues. So according to research, it happens for a couple of different reasons, mainly relationship dissatisfaction. This includes emotional neglect, lack of intimacy, unmet needs, and communication breakdown. That is 45 to 55%. So if your relationship is bad, if it's not healthy, if it's not in a good place, then fix it. This is my warning, right, to everybody. Fix it. Because if it's not in a good place, your chance of the chance of there being an affair within the relationship just jumps to 45 to 55% if it's really bad, if things are bad. Now, here's the part that gets a little bit interesting. Most people would have you believe that cheating happens because people cannot control their urges. However, that's not true. So according to this, I've seen smaller numbers at that. Cheating, right, is comprised of a lot of different things, but poor impulse control is one of them. Poor impulse control plays a role around 20 to 30% of the time. Poor impulse control. And it's actually reported to be lower in other research studies. That's interesting. So it's not just people cheating because they had the opportunity, because they cannot control their impulses, because they're in high risk situations, because they have trouble regulating their emotions and themselves. It is not that. That's crazy. What do you think about that, Gina? About those two different stats or percentages?
Sorry, I had my mic on mute because there's a train passing by.
Okay.
Um, so you're saying that it's no longer being blamed on
No, what I'm
impulse
saying
control?
is it was never really the fault of poor impulse control.
Oh, okay.
So truthfully speaking, it has more to do with the satisfaction of the relationship and the happiness that the couple share. So in
Yeah.
theory, when you basically bring it to like its more simplest forms, it is saying that the happier the couple, the less likely there'll be an affair.
Yeah. So they're consciously making these terrible choices to cheat.
No. So basically, again, 20% or so of affairs are going to happen because of poor impulse control. That means that it's not really people trying to be bad or not being able to control themselves.
Mm.
That's crazy, right?
Oh, okay.
Because the initial like thought is these people just cannot control their impulses, so they just cheat.
Right.
That's like the mainstream belief that people
Yeah.
have you think, but that's not the truth. It really isn't. Here it says 20 to 30%. I think the number be lower in specific research studies. So, like in smaller samples. But that's interesting because then it means that your partner, if they did this, they're not doing it because they truly wanted to hurt you. It means that there's something going on. Now, you could probably ask what in the world's going on to where then, I mean, to where what will justify this? Well, again, emotional neglect, lack of intimacy, unmet needs, poor communication. But more specifically, they actually did something else. They accounted for additional possible stats for what else could be happening. So you have relationship dissatisfaction, poor impulse control, and other reasons, which says 20 to 30%. That's very interesting. So other reasons. Let's go with other reasons. So what are the other reasons that it could happen? So right here. So sometimes it is a clash of attachment styles. That happens, right? If somebody's very dismissive in nature, then they're not going to be there for their partner emotionally. They're not going to be emotionally available. So sometimes it is a clash of attachment styles, but sometimes it is something else. There's this term acronym, right? Acronym that's it's called BLASTO, like blast off.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
but BLASTO, like BLAHSTO, stands for boredom, loneliness, anger, hunger, stressed, tired, overwhelmed. So these things are specific triggers in the world of addiction, like sexual addiction or even cheating for people. So when people are bored and they're not feeling very stimulated within their relationship, they are likely to cheat. If they are lonely, then and they're not feeling as if they have intimacy or connection within the relationship, they are likely to cheat. If they're being neglected also, right? So neglect leads to feeling lonely. If they are angry with their partner, they're more likely to cheat. Hunger is there, but that's kind of a weird one. I'm not sure why it's even in the list, but I'm not sure. Maybe some people cheat when they're hungry. Who knows? I guess money, being sarcastic there, but money, I guess believe on that one is that maybe it has to do with self-regulation. If you're hungry, you're not feeling well. You're feeling dysregulated. So that might make you do something dumb. If your brain is not getting the proper nutrients that it needs, maybe your judgment is impaired,
Like
right?
hangry.
Yeah. Then stressed out. Some people will cheat because they're stressed out. They're very overwhelmed, stressed out, and they're going to cheat to de-stress. Then there's tired. So some people are tired of, I guess, tired enough to cheat. Then you have overwhelmed, which is the lives get into people and they start to cheat. They start to cheat. A very good example of this is the movie Fences. Have you seen that movie? I love that movie. It's freaking amazing. Denzel, I love you, brother. Denzel, he's amazing. But in the movie, Denzel, his name was Troy. His name was Troy in the movie, and he ended up cheating on his wife. And she asked him why. Why in the world would you do this to me? Why after all this time? She said, I think she said something like I could have accepted it in the first couple of years. That would have made more sense. I mean, you were younger, maybe you could have made dumb choices. I would have understood it. But why after like 10 plus years I think it was something like maybe 17 years. Why after 17 years would you freaking do this? And he said that he was always overwhelmed, and that when he cheated, he felt free. He felt as if it was a way to escape his responsibilities, a way to escape his life, a way to make it to where he wasn't stressed out about things that he had to do throughout the week, as a way to be free from his own life, an escape, if you will, an escape. So that's a very interesting thing. But look, here's the thing though. So with cheating, and you know, people always wanna say that you can tell your partner's cheating if they do these things, right? I've seen like a million of those videos everywhere. It's very interesting, but they actually have specific things that people actually do inside of this research right here. So you have rituals of cheating. Dun dun dun. You have rituals of cheating. So you have clothing slash apparel. So dressing differently, dressing nicer maybe, makeup, putting on more makeup, trying to look a specific way, grooming in specific kinds of ways. So looking extra sharp. New shoes. That's interesting. I mean, that's not fair though, because you know, some people right like to buy shoes, but here it says that shoes, trying to have new shoes is, I guess, because it's part of clothing and apparel. A new perfume, laughing a lot with a person who you're trying to cheat with. It's like flirting, I suppose, and laughter, right?
Yeah.
Texting a lot with them. Oh, and then having personal slash intimate conversations that you should not be having with a person, with a coworker. Then you have too much eye contact and smiling repeatedly. That is a telltale sign of somebody who's flirting or who's going in that direction just a little bit. You have fantasizing about people. You have this one is a common one according to this research, and that is taking off your wedding ring. Right? Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
It gets
Very
more,
fun.
it gets more interesting. Then you have flirting, straight up flirting, innuendos, right?
Mm.
Innuendos. So making certain comments, touching the person. So like grabbing their arm, playing with them, pushing them, right? Trying to like fake wrestle with them, all these different things. Then you have driving together with a person, right? Driving together with a
Just
person consistently, drinking together with a person, dancing together with a person, being acting needy, helpless, right? Around the person. And then being acting more independent from the relationship.
So not a friend.
Hmm?
So not a friend.
Not a friend? What do you mean not a friend?
Well, apart from the sexual stuff, the hanging out, the driving together, the dancing together, the whatever, not a friend.
Yeah, not a friend. I mean, unless it's a friend. I guess that's where it gets tricky. I guess it does.
Yeah.
Some friends hang out like this.
But if you hang out, and you want to go eat together, you want to go watch a movie together, you want to play pool together, you want to go play at the arcade together, you
Yeah.
want to paint together.
Yeah, good point. But then here's what brings me to my next point. So like, good point. That's all good stuff. And I'll come back.
I'm just saying, just apart from like the innuendos and
Yeah,
that
no,
type of
no,
stuff.
but there's a that's actually in some cases considered like a high risk kind of relationship, and I'll explain why in a minute. But
Okay.
you have after cheating happens, so the compulsion or the act of cheating, you have what you call falling into despair. So people who cheat fall into despair like almost immediately. They feel
The people
terrible.
who cheat,
Yeah, the people who cheat actually feel terrible. They feel bad. They feel horrible. They feel bad. They do. So everybody who cheats, well, at some point, I mean, afterwards, for the most part, will immediately realize what in the world they did, and they will feel terrible and they fall into despair of shame and guilt. Shame and guilt, and then also Also, it can lead to a lot of negative beliefs for the person who cheats, like I am bad, I am an unworthy person, no one should love me as I am, no one will ever meet my needs, something's wrong with me, and I'm not sure why I cannot form healthy connections with people, all these different things. So there's this wound belief system that's present inside of the person who's cheating. But then here's the other part of it too, though. A lot of cheating happens because of attachment wounds and injuries that people have experienced because of their parents. There's that. So there's that. And I mean, emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, childhood issues, all these contribute to cheating. They all do. But to your point, a while ago, you brought up how some friends hang out like crazy. Some friends hang out great, right? They do. But here's the thing, though. So, according to research, this was interesting, by the way, super interesting. So, when I was in undergrad, many years ago, um, they had people signing up for courses, like courses that you had to take, like electives. I was almost done at this point with undergrad around that time frame, but there was this course that was there, and I was curious. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. Why not? I need one more course. I'm almost done with school. I was like, I'll take it. What in the world? Why not? It was considered a double applicable course. So you could count it for graduate school or for undergrad. It was pretty cool. So I'm like, you know what? I'll take it. So I took it. It was human sexuality.
What?
Yeah. They actually have a course at schools called human sexuality, where all you do is study human sexuality for the whole semester. Man, that the tension in that room was crazy, Gina. You should have seen it. It was insane. It was I forgot who the instructor.
Oh my gosh.
I think it was
All right.
Ms. Munoz. I think that was her name, Dr. Munoz. So I think she's the one that taught the class, Dr. Munoz. And it was around 160 girls. It was a lot, like 100. Let's go with 160, maybe a little bit less, and like 3 or 4 guys, maybe like 3. I was one of the 3. That was crazy. And
Yeah, why so little?
I actually exactly. I'm like, damn, I signed up for the wrong course. But then I thought, wait, 163 girls. No, I signed up for the right course. Just some humor for the audience. I signed up for the right course. I met a girlfriend there. I had a girlfriend there. But I made a girlfriend throughout the class. That was a side note. I had a girlfriend in that class, sort of girlfriend, right? And one of the things that they talked about was how do relationships develop? How do romantic relationships develop? And what they found was that it was multiple different things, but it usually came to be that it was 2 main factors that developed relationships, and that was proximity and repeated exposure. So proximity is being close to a person, right? Consistently, like being close to them, like workspace wise, like in the same office, in the same floor, same building, same workplace, all these different things. Then you have repeated exposure. So after being repeatedly exposed to somebody, then the likelihood of of developing some kind of emotional connection skyrockets. So proximity and repeated exposure. So these 2 things combined make what? What kind of environment leads to proximity and repeated exposure?
A relationship?
No. Environment. So what kind of environment leads to the workplace? The workplace.
Yeah, okay.
The workplace. So a humongous chunk of affairs happen at the workplace and at the gym.
Oh.
So the reason why this happens is because of proximity and repeated exposure. The more exposure that people have to each other, repeated exposure, and the more close that they are, the greater the likelihood of them cheating. And that's why at workplace people see each other over and over again, right, for long periods of time and repeatedly. So it lends itself to the chance of falling for a coworker or developing unhealthy or inappropriate relationships with their coworkers. That's what happens. But same thing with the gym. Usually it's the same people that go to the gym over and over again, like clockwork. No, seriously, it is. It's always the same people that go to the gym. Again, at some point you start to realize who's who. Like, hey, you're here every Wednesday. You're here every Friday with me. So at some point, you know who's there consistently. And at some point, because of the way relationships work, at some point you're bound to cross paths, and at some point bound to develop a connection. And then if the person's a great person, like either funny, they're amazing, if they're actually like, let's say they're the person's type, you dang dirty cheater. You dang dirty cheater. The likelihood of cheating skyrockets. But then if you combine this, right? Combine this with a failing relationship or alien relationship, you have a happy person at work who you have a connection with, then that leads to cheating. Right? It does. Not the only factor though. So along the what's it called, possible factors, you have those, and then you also have a couple of others. You have maybe this one's the one I'll bring up at a different point. Yeah, it's too specific and too like complex. You have compatibility issues. So a lot of people, they get together early on. A lot of people. Back in the day it was even more. Now it's kind of changing. But you know, compatibility is one of the biggest factors that predicts a successful relationship. So if your compatibility is low with your partner, and if you get together with them, you're more likely to cheat, more likely to leave them, more likely to break up, more likely to get divorced. So compatibility is one of the top factors that's important to have within a relationship. So that saying that says opposites attract, true to a certain degree. It's interesting, but opposites don't stay together usually. That's the thing, because compatibility leads to intimacy and friendship and closeness. It does. And then it leads to other different things that are amazing, right? Commitments, passion, all these different things. And then this all forms the glue to keep a couple together. Good stuff. Then you have sex addiction. Some people have a sex addiction, and then this leads to cheating. Nature of the beast, right? Sex addiction, cheating. That's like a straight line right there, right? It really is. So right here, conflict and needs not being addressed, or needs not being what's it called, provided for the partner. This includes support, emotional availability, peace, appreciation, respect. So when this stuff's not present, it leads to cheating. It does. Then you also have drugs. Using drugs leads to cheating sometimes. Drugs and alcohol leads to cheating because of the impaired judgments, lowered inhibitions, all these different things. Then you have mental health issues. Mental health issues lead to cheating sometimes. Not all mental health issues, but most of them include depression, bipolar, BPD, right? So some mental health issues have a higher create a higher chance of cheating because of the way that they affect relationships. Bipolar 1 specifically, I'm going to reference that one first, leads to manic episodes and hypomanic episodes that lead sometimes to cheating. Not always, just sometimes, but they lead to increased sexual behaviors. So it leads to having so much energy and sexual desire, and the desire for connection, and intimacy and sexual intimacy, that it leads to cheating and wanting to have fun and all these different things. So that's interesting. So bipolar 1. Depression can lead to cheating because depression, when people are at their worst, at their lowest point, they are the most vulnerable, because at this point they're trying to find something that'll help them feel better. And just like drugs, people want something that, sometimes that's external, right? and then they'll rely on something outside of themselves instead of themselves. To people, I say this though, there's a reason why they call it inner strength, right? In darkness, it is you who must give yourself hope. That's why they call it inner strength. Uncle Iroh, right? Uncle Iroh, Avatar. But when people are depressed, they are likely to cheat. Not every single time, but they're likely to cheat because they're trying to feel better. They're trying to self-medicate by using human connection to feel better. So there's that. Interesting. Then you have right here, you have two more things. This is very interesting. You have midlife crisis. Some people will experience a midlife crisis and not everybody handles it well. Some people will buy a fancy car and start like zooming throughout the city, right? Some people will do something like do something that's very dangerous. Some people will try to do certain things. Let me see a good example. I don't know. A very good example that I can think of is people trying to do like martial arts, but later on in life, and trying to get that experience. Very good example of this was Jean-Claude Van Damme. He lived his life a certain way, then he had a midlife crisis, and he tried to go into fighting, but he completely backed down because he knew that it was not going to work out. He came to his senses. Some people buy a fast car because they want to recapture their youth or something, whatever it is. But a midlife crisis can bring out the worst in people. It can bring out the worst in people if they don't handle it well. And then here's one that's very interesting. So this one is probably the curveball that'll trigger everybody. Right here. Right here. Dun, dun, dun. So the curveball is this. So it is missing out on something or the regret of not experiencing something. That's the one. Some people, they get into relationships early on. They do. Because they get into relationships early on. Let's say they're teens, early 20s. They don't always get to explore all the options, get it out of their system, experiment, connect to other people, all these different things. So then when they get older, they start to see that now they have that available to them. In most cases, it's men. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. In most cases, it's men. And the reason why it's men is because at some point, I'm not gonna say who said this because I don't like this person. But the way that he said it made a lot of sense. Like it puts it in perspective. When you're a little kid, right, as a man, when you're a little kid, if you go to the store, you cannot buy the candy that you want to. At least not all the candy that you want to buy, because your funds are limited. You have an allowance. You have $5. Go out, right? Go out with $5. But a man at some point reaches his peak, his prime, most notably around 27 through 35 or so, right? 27, 35, something like that. At this point, men reach their prime and they are successful. They have usually they did everything correctly. They have good finances. They have a lot of different things, and they have the opportunity to cheat. And now that they have money, they can do whatever they want, right? There's not a huge jump from having so much money to cheating. There isn't. In fact, research also shows that people are likely to cheat between the ages of 40 through 45 as well. It's a huge chunk of the population that's cheating. Because again, at that point, people are already successful, settled. They already have what they need to do all these different things, to get away with cheating, to travel, to do all these different things, money, all these different things. But a woman's loyalty is tested when a man has nothing. A man's loyalty is tested when he has everything. Make sense? I'll say it one more time for the crowd. A woman's loyalty is tested when a man has nothing. A man's loyalty is tested when he has everything. You're making a face. I'm wondering why you're making a face. Explain.
It sounds like a contradiction.
No, because for women to it's complicated, but for women to be with a man who has nothing he has something to offer. That's love, and that's love and commitment, support, all these different things, and growing together, right? But a woman's loyalty is really tested at that point because there are so many men who are already successful, who already succeeded, or who are already in a very good spot. If a woman stays with a man who's not rich or who has not reached his prime, his peak, she stays with him, it's because she truly loves him. She does. She truly, and if she, especially if she has options, if this girl is beautiful, like a knocker, right? I'm not gonna rate women, but if she is a knockout, right? If she is a knockout, she's a dime, how they say, and she stays with a man when she's getting called, DM'd by a bunch of other men, and she still stays with her man. That's true loyalty. If the guys are saying, "I'll give you the world, I have money, I have all these different things," but she stays with the man that she's with, that is true love because she said no to all these temptations. That's amazing. It really is. Her loyalty was tested, but she succeeded. However, for the man, he cannot prove his loyalty at that point necessarily because, I mean, he just can't. I mean, not completely, at least not in this context. But when he has everything, when he already has accomplished his met his financial clock goals, right? So women have a biological clock, men have a financial clock. When a man has reached his financial clock prime and is successful, at this point he has, but for lack of a better term, the pick of the litter. He can basically do whatever he wants to do. He has the option to, if they're not married, by the way, at this point, so if they're not married, they're together, he has the option to just dump his girlfriend and go with a younger model, right? Hotter model, right? And do all these different things. But if he doesn't, if he does not stay, if he does not dump his girlfriend, and if he does not leave his girlfriend at that point, if he does not cheat on her, if he does not leave his wife for a younger girl or prettier girl, whatever you want to describe it as, then his loyalty is being tested. And a lot of men are likely to cheat once they've already succeeded in life. That's the thing, which is why I say a woman's loyalty is tested when the man has nothing, and a man's loyalty is tested when he has everything. For the audience, just so they can know. But then also you have cheating that happens because people feel as if they missed out on something. Maybe there was a girl who they had a crush on back in the day. Maybe it's unfinished business. That's a very common one, by the way, unfinished business. When there's unfinished business, that can lead to cheating out of curiosity of what could have been. That can happen. But that, again, that's another one of the reasons. Missed out on something or regret not experiencing something. Regret not experiencing dating more women, regret not experiencing having sex with multiple women. So then it leads to more curiosity and eventually it can lead to cheating. It does. It can. No, what do you think? What do you think about the things that I've mentioned so far? The things that I've said.
A little crazy.
It is. It's insane. It really is. It's insane. And some people will struggle with this. And if it does happen, if you're not able to address it and it happens, I mean, it's possible to come back from it. I work with like hundreds of people that go through this, hundreds. And some of them are able to come back from it, some of them are not. It's a case by case basis. It just depends on so many different things. But it's possible. It is possible to come back from it. And for those who have not experienced this yet and who are not yet there to that point to where it could happen, maybe if they watch this podcast, they'll be aware of what leads to cheating, what leads to straying, and all these different things. And the thing is, knowing is half the battle, how they say, right? Knowing is half the battle. If you're able to understand what makes your brain tick, what makes your brain work, why does it go in a specific direction, then you're able to have more control of it. And you're able to not fall for the illusions that it shows you, that it tries to convince you of, right? Because in the world of addiction, whether it's sexual, behavioral, substance, there's always going to be justifications. And if you're able to see past that, then there's no way they're going to control you. So the justification is, I never got to experiments. I didn't get to experience this. I'm struggling, right? So I should be able to find a way to cope with stress, or she's being mean to me, doesn't appreciate me, all these different things, she doesn't respect me. There's a lot of different justifications that could come up for a person when they engage in affairs, but none of them are valid. None of them are valid. None of them, truthfully speaking. Even the most valid is the most unvalid too, which is revenge cheating, by the way. People engage in revenge cheating. That's pretty interesting, by the way.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But the idea with the idea with revenge cheating is that you did it to me, so I'll do it to you. But this has been debunked significantly by a lot of different people, and it's what's considered the fallacy of fairness. You could cheat on them 5 times if they cheat on you once. It'll never offset the scales. Never. It won't. So, I mean, whoever's watching this podcast, I guess, I mean, take it to heart, listen to it, try to digest the stuff that we talked about. And if it was triggering for some people, I mean, damn, right? But I mean,
They faced it.
huh?
At least they faced it.
At least yeah. If you're still here after the first hour or the first like 45 minutes, it means that you were able to withstand everything we threw at you. It really means that. But now that you know what it looks like, what the demons look like, and what leads to people cheating, then you have a couple of different choices. Either always try to stay ahead of the curve. I got to throw it inside there after all. So try to stay ahead of the curve always by not letting these things get to you or affect you. Or you could choose not to act on it and not do anything with this knowledge. And then at that point, you're choosing to go in that direction. So staying ahead of the curve was a concept that was invented by John Gottman, the world's greatest couples psychologist. But he stated this concept in a different kind of context, more so relationship satisfaction. But in this context, it's more so about fidelity. You got to stay ahead of the curve. You do. So if you apply everything that we just talked about and try to do something with this information, the likelihood of you cheating is now decreased, probably by 80%. Hey, there you go. We did it.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, the likelihood of you cheating after listening to this podcast is now decreased by 80% or so. Because now you know everything that goes into this. And also, the only thing that could still get you at this point is probably poor impulse control and just being, what's he called, selfish and wanting to seek pleasure. But if you have not been consumed so much by that yet, by egotism, then again, 80% to 90% maybe, right? So the likelihood of somebody cheating after listening to this podcast is now down to by 80% to 90%. Congrats. Y'all did it. And that, everybody, is the podcast. The world is on fire. I don't even think I said it at the beginning of the episode, so I'll say it right now. Welcome, everybody, to The World is on Fire. Thank you for being here.